name is Natasha Deen, and I am here with you today with my novel, In the Key of Nira Ghani, which is the 2020 Amy Mathers Teen Book Award recipient. And Nira and I are waving at you from Edmonton, Alberta, which is Treaty 6 land and the ancestral lands of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, and Métis people. So I have kind of an interesting origin story. I was born in Scarborough, Ontario, but when I was about 3 weeks old, my family moved back home to Guyana, South America, and I grew up in Guyana for 5 years, and then we moved to Calgary, Alberta. So I am born Canadian, but my experience with Canada has always been an immigrant experience because the first country I knew was a country of peacocks and coconut trees and mangoes and ocean. And then we moved to a country of flannel and cowboy boots and breathtaking cold. And when we moved in the 80s back to Canada. And that was just around the time that Canada had opened her doors to non-white immigrants. And so what that meant was that in the neighborhood and in the schools, my family and I were the only chocolate chips in the vanilla cookie. So the first school we went to, my sister and I were the only brown kids, and I think we were the only kids of color, period. And it was a K-9 school. And then we moved to a K-6 school, and there was me and my sister who represented for like all the brown people in the world. And then there was another girl in my sister's class who was African Canadian, and her little sister was in my class. And then another girl in my sister's class who was Chinese Canadian, and her little brother was in our class for about a year, and then he transferred out. So what that meant was that in an elementary school of over 300 kids, there were 6 kids of color, and, which meant it was really awkward growing up, and it was really difficult growing up because as little as Canadian culture at the time understood South Asian culture, they didn't really catch Caribbean culture. So growing up, it was a lot of people mistaking me for being Indian, which I was fine with because I'm a mixed race kid. So in my ancestry, we are South Asian, we are Caribbean, we are African, we are Chinese. But trying to explain to people the difference between Caribbean culture and South Asian culture was confusing and frustrating. And eventually I just got to the point where I just went, yeah, sure, I will raise my hand for that. Sure, I am that, right? And the frustration grew because in the schools and in the libraries, there were very, very few books featuring kids of color as protagonists. And so I'm telling you this because when I began writing In the Key of Nira Ghani, it came from a place of wanting to celebrate my culture and wanting to have a conversation about some of the things that I experienced growing up, and just really wanting to see a book out there with someone who looked like me and who had experiences similar to me. And I wish I could remember who said it, but it was this author that said something to the effect of, if you cannot find the books that you want to read, write them. And so this is what started me writing Nira, but I was also a little bit terrified because I wasn't really sure if people would understand Nira and understand her hopes and her fears and her dreams. And so I was just so grateful that when Running Press, picked up Nira and they loved her story and celebrated everything about it. And it just, and to all the writers out there who worry about whether or not their story will have a place, and whether or not the world will embrace their stories, and that worry prevents them from writing, can I please say to you, don't worry about it. Your story will find a place. Your story will find a home. Your story will find hearts. So go forth, be brave, even though it's terrifying, and write your story, because the world really needs to know about your experiences. The world needs to know about all the things that you see, and how do you view the things that happen, and you know, what makes your characters laugh and what makes them cry, and you know, through their experiences we see ourselves, and that is such a beautiful gift to give to people. So please write your story. And with Nira, you know, I absolutely did. And so what I'd like to read to you is a quick piece with Nira, who has decided that she is going to be brave, and she's going to go home and she's going to tell her parents that actually she really wants to try out for jazz band. And of course she's completely freaking out over all of it because they let her play trumpet, but I mean, as a hobby, you know, that's not a real job. Or as her dad keeps saying, you know, you got to study, you can't end up in the gutter, you can't, like I feel like every Caribbean kid has had that lecture, right? You gotta be the best, you gotta try harder, you know, 98, who cares? Where's the 99? Where's 100%? Come on, right? And, you know, when we talk about how our real life experiences can influence and inspire our stories, growing up in a Caribbean family with Caribbean elders around me, and my experience, and a lot of my friends' experiences who are kids of color, whether they were Caribbean, South Asian, Chinese, Japanese, you know, when you came with your parents and your parents were immigrants, there was this discussion that seemed to happen all the time where, you know, your parents would sit you down and they would say, we are here in Canada and it is a land of opportunity and possibilities, and you must try very hard and you must study even harder. And when you grow up, you will grow up and you can be anything you want to be. Any kind of lawyer, any kind of doctor, any kind of accountant. And at some point in time as a kid, you would say, well, what if I want to be an actor? What if I want to be a mechanic? You know, and your parents would say, anything. Anything you want to be. Any kind of lawyer, any kind of doctor, any kind of accountant. Be any of those things. So this is the pressure that Nira is under, right? She wants to do right by her parents, but how do you do that when you really just want to be something else and there's something else in your life that lights you up? So she's coming in to confront her parents, and what she's done is she's walked home, like she's walked into the middle of them having a fight. And what they're fighting over is that Mom has bought like a little hibachi campfire barbecue, and because she'd like to do some barbecuing, right? Dad, on the other hand, thinks that they should save up all of their money and then buy a really expensive barbecue like the one his brother, who has a ton of money, has, right? And this is why they're fighting. And Nira is trying to, you know, as Mom is ranting and raving, trying to side with Mom because, of course, in the back of Nira's mind, she still really wants Mom to give permission for jazz band. And so she's going to kind of go along with whatever Mom wants at this moment in time, so that Nira can get what it is that she wants. So they're having this conversation, and Mom says, I know we have to save for some things, but not everything. Not everything has to have a brand name and a big price tag. Sometimes no name is just as good. I disagree, but I need her on side. You don't care. Another match dies. You and your designer jeans, says Mom. That's not fair, I tell the back of her. She turns and bends towards a plastic bag. Just because I like brand names doesn't mean I can't understand where you're coming from. Some things are... She whips out a bag with the ferocity of a samurai wielding a sword. What the... She pulls out a giant bottle of lighter fluid. I'm tired of your father telling me I'm bad for not wanting to win on every little thing. Why can't we have fun with what we have? As she's talking, she's spraying the charcoal with fluid. The more she talks, the harder she pushes on the bottle. Mom, I think that's enough. It is enough, Nira. I'm not letting him talk to me like that anymore. No, I mean, there's going to be a fire. Girl, don't be so dramatic. Your father and I are going to self-destruct. No, I mean I'll show him. Another squirt of fluid on the barbecue. I'll prove to him this thing is just as good as Raj's Colossus. Another shot on the charcoal. You can do a lot with a little.
I grab the bottle out of her hand. "Look at you with your toy trumpet," she says. Uh-oh. "Listen to the great music you play, even though it's not expensive or pretty to look at. You do a good job. You don't need anything else." Outstanding. Just what I least needed to hear. It's what you said. With some things, you don't need to spend hundreds or get a brand name. I eye the bottle in my hand and consider dousing myself with it. But some things, I say, quality things, you need to spend money. Nira. Her impatient gaze rubs me like sandpaper. Are you with me or not? I'm with both of you? You can't be with both of us. Why not? Because one of us is wrong. Another glare. And I'm the one who gave birth to you. Parents. You can prove your point with the food, I say. Go get me the chicken, she tells me. Stop drowning the bricks with lighter fluid. When I come back, I see her sprinkling the bricks with lighter fluid. What did I say? I set down the dish of chicken legs. With the amount you sprayed, then I remember I'm supposed to have her on side. Can I help? I'll start it, then you can watch it while I make the potatoes. She reaches for the matches. Unless you want to peel them? No, and more no. All I'll hear is how I peel too thick and I need to cut more of the eyes out. I'll watch. With a flick of her wrist, the match flames to life. Another flick and it's spiraling through the air and touches the bricks. There's a loud boom. An apocalyptic cloud of smoke and flame and black clouds explode to the sky. A second later, as the haze clears, the fire's burning with cheerful orange and red in the barbecue. Our eyes travel upwards, tracking the path of soot that's been licked into the white wall. You still have the 20, Mom says? The one I gave you for your jeans? Yeah? Go get paint. And a brush. He's going to be home soon, I say. The store's half an hour away. Mom turns to the chicken. Run. One of the best parts about writing Nira is the feedback I've gotten from readers where I get tweets and I get emails from readers saying that they feel represented, that they see themselves in Nira. And I love the fact that even though Nira is a Guyanese kid, it is readers of all different ages and all different ethnicities and all different backgrounds that write in and say, hey, I feel this story. I see myself in her. I understand her. And so in closing, just to all my writer friends who are grappling with a manuscript, grappling with that story idea, I encourage you to be patient. I encourage you to, even when it's boring and difficult and you can think of like a million different things you'd like to do, to sit down and give your story time and space. Some stories just take a little bit longer to grow, but somewhere out there is a reader who needs to hear your story, who will be lit up reading about your characters and seeing themselves in the pages of a book. So from me and Nira and all my friends from Running Press, thank you so much and have a wonderful day.